In a significant step towards resolving internal conflicts within the Sierra Leone's People's Party, SLPP. The Political Parties Regulation Commission, PPRC, has officially presented its report on petitions arising from the SLPP's recent lower-level elections. Now, the report addresses grievances and disputes raised by SLPP members from various districts across the country following the party's elections, which began on February 8, 2025. The commission says they received petitions from 14 political districts, including Western Area Urban, Western Area Rural, Kenema, Kailaun, Bo, Karine, and Port Loko. However, many believe this could be the end to violence in the ongoing SLPP lower-level elections. But social media posts over the weekend show violence in Kono and Kenema again. This morning, to discuss these issues, we are expecting Lucian Momo, who's the Director of Outreach and Training at PPRC. And in the studios with us this morning, we have Lahai Lawrence Leema, National Publicity Secretary for the SLPP. Good morning to you and welcome to the program.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Just as you've heard from the intro that I read, one might think this is the end of violence when it comes to not just the SLPP, but violence, particularly in Sierra Leone. What do you speak to that?
Well, violence is where people feel deprived of certain rights. They think it's their due. It could be a recipe for violence, but where somebody thinks satisfied that he has grievances and he has where to channel his grievances, and that grievance is addressed, it actually brings satisfaction and also trigger change of attitude. Because when somebody is deprived of what he thinks is due, is his due, then not all that sees the alternative means of settling dispute through legal means. Some other think they can use their own strength within their power to bring satisfactions to themselves. And so SLPP is an institution that is set up by the constitution of the party and also other rules and regulations. A body that also supervises the functions of political parties is one is the PPRC, and the PPRC supervises the work of political parties. And so whatever we are doing, they are the supervising body. And so where membership of the party think that they are aggrieved as a result of the process of the elections we are conducting, the PPRC is the supervising body where they can channel their grievances, and certainly the national executive can be summoned, and the party that is aggrieved will sit together and discuss the issues, and that will certainly lead to a report which will be sent to the national office, which has been done, and the National Secretariat is reviewing the report, and soon they will come up with a timetable where those areas that needs to be reviewed will be reviewed. And once that is done, I am sure those who are aggrieved will feel satisfied of the outcome, in as much as it's done in a transparent, free and fair manner.
Permit me to say, it's been a while you graced our studio. How have you been so far in terms of your operation as the National Publicity Secretary?
Well, I've been doing my own bit where it's necessary, because, of course, from time to time, I've been coming around to talk or speak to issues within the remit of the SLPP, whether on a phone conversation or in person. So I've been doing my own bit as much as the need arises.
And how is the party seeking to address all of these issues of violence that are happening in, all these 14 districts?
Well, first, violence actually is not our nature as a political party. We have rules and regulations. We have codes of conduct as to how membership should behave themselves, even when we are going into elections. And so whoever is seen deviating from that path, there are always disciplinary measures that will be taken against those individuals who probably see the path of violence. And violence also that disturb the public peace falls outside the powers of the Sierra Leone People's Party. That is for the Sierra Leone police to be able to handle those ones. And that is why we always admonish our membership to behave themselves according to what is defined by our constitution and also rules and regulations that considered us as members of the Sierra Leone People's Party.
So Leema, you said you are not known for violence. Why is it so different this time around? Why is the violence so rowdy?
Well, that is more the reason why those probably who are engaged in such acts, they have been being reported to the police. So the police is investigating that. If it happens they are members of the Sierra Leone People's Party, we know that is a conduct that is inconsistent with the existence of the Sierra Leone People's Party. Definitely the party will resolve at disciplinary measures against those membership.
Will the disciplinary measures also include expelling certain members who are deemed unfit to be in
Well, it depends on the magnitude. It depends on the magnitude and the involvement of the individual. So that is not for me to say. But if there is a need for that, there will be a tribunal that will be set up to look into the conduct.
The next presidential elections are coming. They say future events always cast their shadows before the image appears. If lower level elections are this rowdy, it paints a picture that, coming battles will be even tougher in the party. Are you sensing a cloud of, intra-party, fights?
Well, the rowdiness really we're talking about is an isolated one. It's really not one that is in a wide scale that will affect the overall outcome of the process itself. Out of the number of constituencies we have in this country, it's only about 14 constituencies that people have issues with, which was sent to the PPRC, which is to say, if we consider what we've been experiencing before to now, there is a vast improvement. But as much as we are experiencing still a pocket of those, we'll still continue to improve on our approach as to how we will minimize those isolated incidences of rowdy behavior.
So, Leema, a few days ago, there was a social media video where your office was being pelted with stones. Have you apprehended the guys who did this?
Say again?
One of your offices was being pelted with stones and shouting sticks and stones and all these kinds of things.
Where
on
is
social
that?
media. It was Sunday, I think.
Where?
But it wasn't in Kainla also, Marina. We saw the video. It was shared on our social media, WhatsApp group, where these guys were being, chased after they had pelted stones and all of these things, and they were shouting, "Oh, catch them! These are the guys!"
Well,
I didn't see that video.
I have not been able to see that, and if you were able to bring me up to speed with regards to specific areas, then I'll be able to speak to it. But I don't want to speak to something
that you
probably
haven't
that
seen.
is vague. Yes, and that I've not been able to see.
Mr. Leema, you have been known to be a man who is, one of perhaps your strongest to the party. As someone who has also worked in internal affairs, how does lower level election violence, in any way affect national peace, if at all it does? At all level?
To take away the nomenclature, forget about lower level. Violence of all sorts disturbs the peace of the country, and also it undermines the economic flow even for the day of that particular environment. And it disturbs the comfort of other peaceful citizens, and that is more the reason why we have structures such as the Sierra Leone police to address situations of that nature. So violence in itself, of whatever kind, whether lower level, of whatever kind, domestic or otherwise, is not one that portends good for the peaceful coexistence of a community.
These violences, which perhaps I would say, you're trying to, or should I say, amend now, although they have happened, do they have any effects on the election results, or tabulation of, votes cast in these elections in any way? Do they distort the electoral process in any way, these pockets of violence that we're talking about?
Yeah, they depend on the scale, and it depends on how it happened.
Okay.
Because let's say, for instance, if people are balloting here and you come and disrupt the process, where you deny people the right of exercising their franchise, yes. But if it happens post, then I see no point where it will have to determine the outcome of the electoral process itself. But if for any reason as well, the nature of violence instill fear in people and also make them apolitical, or make them adopt the act of, say, voter apathy, not coming out to exercise their franchise, then yes.
This is just a surface. I say so because this is just the lower level elections. In few years, we'll be, heading into the general elections. There are concerns, which is backed about the transparency of the lower level elections. What measure is the SLPP putting in place in order to ensure that, the elections, maybe, coming, or the elections, the elections that was just concluded, is free, fair, and credible?
So somebody has to take me at speed with the number of constituencies we have in Sierra Leone, which I'm sure is beyond 100, if my memory could serve me well. So if you have more than 100 constituencies and you only have 14 constituencies where people are aggrieved and are making complaint, and some of those grievances are even lacked merit based on the review of the PPRC, then it tells you that the process we put in place to conduct those elections geared towards free, fair and transparent process that will enhance people's participation and feel satisfied with the process, because our goal is to conduct our internal democracy and also keep our party in peaceful coexistence.
Mr. Leema, please permit me to ask, do you think the involvement of the PPRC is in the best interest of democracy or that of the ruling party?
Well, the PPRC is an institution established by act of government to supervise political parties. That's their role. And for every internal democracy you are conducting, you need external validation as well. And one of the body charged with that responsibility to externally validate what we are doing internally is the Political Parties Registration Commission. And that is why their report should be treated with every sense of seriousness, because if their report is not treated with the seriousness it deserves, if any party who feel aggrieved decide to take further actions, then if it is in line with whatever PPRC must have advised, then is one that will jeopardize the progress of every political party institutions. And that's more the reason why they themselves are not working in isolation. When people send their grievances, they call the national executive as well as the aggrieved party to sit together to look at the issues collectively, and then that informs their report.
Let's be practical a little bit. Let's say, for instance, beyond dismissal, how is the party addressing underlying factionalism and also ideological divides within the party that drives to such incidents of violence and things like that?
Well, it's about, for now, what we have available is about ensuring that we do the right thing. That's one. And also making sure that we understand that as an institution, we are a family. It is our right to contest for whatever positions we are interested in, but should not be a tool to divide us, because it is only when we remain cohesive that we will be able to achieve the objective for which the institution, SLPP, was established, which is to compete in elections and win elections. But if we are divided, it's always a tool that will affect our success. And so we go into those contexts, into the context of elections with the view of somebody imagined to be in certain position at a particular point in time. And so it is not a contestation of tearing the party apart, but it's a family one. Sometimes you have disagreements as a family, but that does not tear your family apart. And so that's the approach we are using at the moment. We always try for our membership to understand that we are a family, that standing for position should not be a tool to divide us, and at the same time encouraging also those who are in charge to make sure that the right thing happens. Because it is only when you deprive somebody of his right deliberately and he thinks that probably you want to bully him or you want to bully her, so that some people may resolve into violence because they think that's the only means they have within their disposal. I'd
love to ask quickly before Jones come in. Do you think some of those violent acts that have been carried out, do you think it's maybe from members of the party or from the opposition?
Say again?
the violent activities that are being carried out, during, the lower level elections and things like that. Do you think these are activities that are being carried out by, SLPP members, or maybe members from the opposition who comes in as, like they're either spies or acting as, they are members of the SLPP party?
Well, when incidences of this nature occur, it will be unfair to just say this is the cause for it. Every incident has its own cause. So you have to conduct an investigation to know what's the underlying reason for what is happening. Probably those in position of authority have not treated their own membership right, or probably there is an external hand in what is happening. So it all depends on the nature of investigations you will set up to look into the issue. Then you'll be able to determine what was the cause.
So, Leema, what sorts of violence did your reports capture across the 14 districts during this election?
Well, one that I have been speaking to, it has to do with Tonkolili, and of course a few areas in Kenema before even the recent incident in Kenema. Was it the day before yesterday or yesterday? So yes, but before Tonkolili was one area that there was issue of violence that was reported, and okay, few other areas like Lower Bambara or is it Grama Mende in Kenema district. So these are the areas where incidents of that of violence in these lower level elections were reported.
And also, I mean, whilst you're trying to perhaps solve the grievance, and settle the aisle, are members within the party okay with this report?
Which one, the PPRC?
Yes.
Well, you
is
will
the
know,
dispute settled internally?
You will know for certain that once aggrieved party makes complaint, they are making complaint against the other party.
Yeah.
So if for any reason the decision comes in favor of those who are aggrieved, you will notice that those the complaint is made against will not be happy with regards to the outcome, and that is more the reason why the party is also looking at the report, studying the report based on what the PPRC says, and looking at what happened on the field, because the party sent out their officials, so they are collating the report to be able to arrive at a decision that will still keep the party together. But for every competition, you have the vanquished crying and you have the victor celebrating. But what we are emphasizing is that we should not celebrate at the demise. I mean, we should not celebrate in the bid of tearing the party apart. We should celebrate like a family, that my victory is the victory for the party, which is a collective success for all of us as a party member. It does not necessarily that because I have not succeeded this time around, I am treated like an outcast. I should be treated as a member of the party and see the victory as my brother, as an overall success for the party. So that is what we are preaching as a party. Because for every contestation, somebody has to emerge. But let the process be fair and somebody feel satisfied with the process.
Will the SLPP in any way compensate those victims, of this violent incident that occurred?
Well, the SLPP is not the reason for whatever violence. Any individual who gets himself involved with the act of violence, I think the best thing the SLPP can do is to take disciplinary actions against individual party member who probably, if they are party member at all, who engage in such acts of violence, if there is any. So, and the rest will be left in the hands of the police to deal with. How is the SLPP coming together in order to ensure that, they build this public trust, Like I said, we're just a few more years down the line towards the election, and issues of such nature tends to, bring some amount of distrust, in the electoral processes, so not just the electoral processes, but within the party itself. Well, the SLPP has always been credit-worthy, even among its membership. Just like any competition, even in family today, you put a box here today and you decide, say, okay, I'm the dad of this family, I want to bequeath this property to one of my children, so let me put a box to conduct a vote. There will always be a disagreement. So that does not mean I am not credit-worthy to be considered a family that has the vision of keeping my family together. And so it all depends on your approach, and what we as members of the party also should be able to understand, that our party is based on national unity, cohesion. It doesn't necessarily mean because we go into competition we should see ourselves as individuals apart because we do not succeed in having.
You mentioned about grievances, which of course is within the party and its members as well, right? Don't you think all of these grievances or unresolved tension will somehow weaken the chances of the party going into the election come 2028?
So out of 15 political districts, you have at least say 2 districts where isolated incidents of violence, it does not in any way undermine the credibility of the SLPP as a decent political organization that means well for this country.
No, we're not talking about the credibility of the party. We're talking about the members itself. You don't think that it will somehow bring, like I said, unresolved dispute within the party. Don't you think it will weaken the party's stance, come 2028 for the elections?
Well, that's why we're resolving the issues.
What if the issues are not resolved?
I'm sure they will be resolved.
What mechanism have been put in place in case these issues are not resolved?
For the very reason the PPRC have addressed their own concern, their report, they've sent it to the party and the party is looking into it to come with a decision. So if you're a member of the Sierra Leone People's Party, you're truly genuine and sincere with the ideals of the party, you will always want to see the best outcome for the SLPP. And that is more the reason why we have guidelines, we have rules and regulations, we have constitutional framework that is guiding the party. All we are encouraging ourselves to do is to ensure that we do the right thing for our membership and for our membership themselves to understand that we need to stay united for the successes and good of this country. I'm
saying this because you can't really speak for every other members within the party, right? As though you are the national publicity secretary and you're representing your party. But again, like I said, there are a certain set of people that you cannot speak, for them. Now, let's say, for instance, if the members of the party are dissatisfied with the PPRC's resolution, what alternative mechanism exists within the SLPP in order to address some of these grievances?
Well, the PPRC is not running the SLPP. The SLPP is running itself. And you as a member of the party, you subscribe that you adhere to the rules and regulations of the party. You subscribe that you adhere to the disciplinary codes of the party. What we will do as an executive is to ensure that we do right to every member of the party. But in every organization where individual members feel aggrieved, there are redress mechanisms through which they can channel their concerns. And that is also not to say other remedies cannot be explored. There are laws of this country. There are laws in this country, and at the same time, our constitutional framework of the party is also tied to the national constitution of Sierra Leone. So if for any reason you feel bullied and you feel dissatisfied and you think this is an advantage taken against you because somebody has that level of authority over you, there is always a channel to go. And if you feel that the laws or rules and regulations of the party is not satisfactory, that is why the Section 35 of the Constitution of Sierra Leone is saying that every political party should frame their constitution and other rules and regulations in tandem with the national constitution. And if it is not, then any act that does not conform with what Section 35 of the Constitution says, then it appears to be undemocratic. And if you think that internal rules within the party cannot give you justice, there are alternative institutions that will ensure that justice is duly served.
So, Leema, the elections are now over. What next for the party?
Well, we are not over yet. There are still stages to review, okay. And once we're done with that, we move to the next stage. Because we've not done with the constituency entirely yet. Okay. There are still some zones, sections, and chiefdoms which requires to be reviewed. And so once that review is done, and we are set to move to the next stage, which will be the district level. And the next level from there will be the regional level, and that will eventually take us to the women's and youth conferences. Oh. And after those conferences, then the delegate list will be published for 21 days as per the orders of the Supreme Court in the Ali Bangura's case. And once that is done, then NEC will be summoned to also determine a date for the National Delegate Conference. which will be set for Kenema.
Seems you have a very exhausting calendar of electoral activities.
And we are doing it gradually. We are making progress.
With, I mean, in light of recent cases of violence as we've seen, are there mechanisms internally to deter?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
To deter.
Of course, we have disciplinary committees, and we have always said that this is not the character of SLPP. So before you signed your membership, you always subscribe that you keep yourself within the rubrics of the rules and regulations of the party, because that's what defines us as a party. So you cannot come and take on your own strength to tear the party apart. So you have to guide yourself within the rules.
So
conduct yourself within the guidance of the rules, though.
This keeps us all wondering, why is the SLPP, still struggling to maintain that sort of unity despite being the ruling party? Isn't it an indication of weak internal leadership or lack of strategic conflict resolution mechanism?
No, not because we are a democratic party and we believe every individual has his own right to exercise his franchise. Not because we're in governance, we can just bully people and do whatever we feel like doing. No, we are a democratic party and we believe the exercise of individual rights as well as collective rights in the party. So we will not take advantage because we're in position of authority.
Would you
so
say
there are rules, there are laid down rules that guide the process of participation of members of the party.
Would you say the party has somehow failed in terms of its leadership in order to prevent conflicts or internal conflicts, if I may put it that way?
Because you don't predict what happens in the future. That's why you set rules to guide and regulate processes. And so if individual actually falls outside the rules, there are always procedure to deal with the conduct of that individual.
With the outcome of all of this, I mean, the investigations that, might be carried out and things like that. Let's say, for instance, the party is not satisfied with the outcome of the PPRC. Will the party fully comply to the outcome of it?
I don't get your question, please.
I mean, let's say, for instance, if the PPRC rulings do not favor the SLPP's leadership, I mean, will the party fully comply, or is there a risk of internal resistance?
Well, like I said, the SLPP run itself. It is not that we will say we will not comply with the rulings of the PPRC, but we'll look at it based on merit, and then the party will take a decision.
Okay.
So there are a lot of messages on our
yes.
Facebook page here that I'd like to read through just briefly.
Just after you.
Yes. Mystic from Duzaki saying, good to hear from your studio guests. Political party violence has been an age-old problem in Sierra Leone. We saw recently that young people were engaged in some violent conduct during the party preliminaries. Apart from the police investigation, what measures have you put in place as a party against defaulters?
Okay, this one is from Mosdi. He says, it's a very sad story and it keeps happening more frequently. Prayers without action is dead. So no matter how much we pray, if our action speaks otherwise, then it's like we're praying to the devil. Mind you, I ain't judging anyone.
Yusuf Mosei Suma is saying, good to see you, Lawrence Leema. What has your party done or planning to do in handling internal wranglings among your party members?
And Lolo is saying, great to see Lawrence Leema this morning. Leema, you've always talked about no violence in election, and we hope you can take severe action against those who are involved in these violent acts. And Mosdi again says, what is the problem with honesty and sincerity in Sierra Leone? I deliberately mentioned Sierra Leone as a whole because honesty and sincerity has been proven to be the norm. Specifically, though, our political class does not make these problems any less by them again and again unable to tell the truth. Violence in every level of our politics has been going on for generations, and in many cases, the politicians themselves are the ones instigating this violence to influence and intimidate their opponents.
Lolo Gasparani is saying, great to see Lawrence Leema this morning. Leema, you've always talked about no violence.
I've read that.
You've seen
just
that one.
Now, yeah.
What about the cross-section of SLPP?
No, not yet.
So Musa Ibrahim Kamal is saying, cross-section of SLPP grassroots in Bombali, we are not okay with the PPRC report. People with political power have influenced the outcome of the report for their selfish interests. The PPRC report for Bombali is too scanty.
Each source saying, Mr. Lahai, what if the investigation comes out and it happens to be that a big party member is involved, someone who is holding government office? What will be your action against him or her? And another one from Moses said, we've had it all before. There's been rules and regulations since the beginning of time, and yet these rules and regulations have been broken time without numbers with no serious consequences or repercussions. And do you have?
I'm just looking still.
Okay, Mohammed Konde, I just hope I got your name correctly. He says, Marina Terry and Victor Jones, you're afraid in your country. Some will come out there and tell you how to dress, how to give the news. That is why you people will never make it, because you don't know what you want. You will continue to obey. You don't do. So it's like you're attacking our personality. No one here is telling us what to do, what to wear, what to eat, or any of that sort. We speak on issues and we address the issues. We're not attacking our guests in any sort. We're asking them questions that I believe, you know, our audiences would love to ask as well, and the general populace. So in no way we're being told what to do. I'm
not even sure this is a person.
Yeah, it's a fake page. So people hide behind all of these fake pages because I've seen it. I've already seen it.
With all due respect to his academic pedigree, I'm not sure the text is quite constructive, because I cannot understand quite clearly. But I mean, your concern is noted.
It's
young
noted
man or young
either
lady,
way, but
or
just
old man or old lady. No one tells us how to dress here. You know?
Well, lastly for me, it's from Vandi Kalod. Mr. Leema, what if any of the senior members is found wanting of the said violence in any of those constituencies? Which action the party will take against that individual? So I believe these are key messages.
Leema, if you'd like to.
Yeah, so I think largely it's summarizing what actions the party will take against those who engage in violent conduct. Like I've said before, somebody was saying there are rules, people have been flouting those rules. But we all know over the past that those who flout the rules of the SLPP are normally being suspended or depending on the magnitude of the wrongdoing, sometimes they are expelled from the party. So somebody was saying, apart from police investigations, what do you do? The only options that is available to us is to set up a disciplinary tribunal to look into the conduct of the individuals involved, and then disciplinary actions will be taken against them, whether by admonition, suspensions, or expulsions. So I think there are structures to address conducts that are outside the confines of the party, of the Sierra Leone People's Party. So we cannot do otherwise other than what we have in our disposal to discipline those who go outside the rules and make the SLPP look bad.
Okay, so we're just going to hold you there for a minute and inform our viewers and listeners that we've just been joined in the studio by Lucien Momo, who's the Director of Outreach and Screening at the PPRC. Good morning to you and welcome to the program.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
I'm sure on your way you might have been listening, or you are very well grounded with the issue that we're discussing here this morning. Now, with specific violations of Sierra Leone's political parties Parties Act, the PPRC identify in its investigation of the SLPP clashes in Kenema and Tonkolili.
Well, of course, to start with the issue in Tonkolili, it has to do with arson, and it's not under our remit to investigate arson. But what we are waiting for is for the Sierra Leone police to conclude with their investigation, charge the matter to court, and if the culprits are seen or are proven to be members of the Sierra Leone People's Party, then they are in violation of the Political Parties Act number 25 of 2022. When you look at the conduct of political parties, it states that the leadership, membership, supporters and operatives of political parties should not engage in such. So that's the same for those in the incident that happened in Kenema on Sunday. We will be meeting as a commission and a decision will be taken. whether we are going to call them to discuss the issue, and maybe it will finally lead to a warning being issued out to them as prescribed by law.
So, of course, the PPRC has enforcement powers and mechanisms as well, which I believe is supposed to be punitive in terms of measures. Now, why were some of these things, issues like mechanisms like fines, pay sanctions and things like that, not applied to the SLPP itself, given the severity of the incident?
Well, of course, you cannot just streamline it to the SLPP. In February 2023, we've issued a warning letter to the SLPP for violation of the act when they are in power. So they are not above the law. The law is for everyone. Before the 2022 act, the only measure stated in the 2002 act was deregistration. Now the act states that we should first of all warn by issuance of a warning letter, and if that repeats itself, we'll fine not less than 100,000 new leons, and if they continue, we'll issue our suspension. And then if that continues again, the law states that we'll go to the ultimate of deregistering a political party. But when we warned the All People's Congress and the Sierra Leone People's Party in 2023, we held a meeting with both parties. And we, as a commission, we do not always use the stick. We have the carrot approach. And both parties appealed to us that in such a situation, we must call them and discuss those issues with them, which the commission is going to do this week, to call the leadership of the Sierra Leone People's Party and discuss the issue of Kedema. And ultimately, the commission will have to take a decision as to how to forestall this, because it is the likelihood that if we do not take action against the Sierra Leone People's Party, other political parties will follow suit. So definitely we are going to meet with them and we are going to issue out a statement on those issues.
Mr. Momo, how was the report worked on? What methodologies do you use?
Well, normally when we receive petitions from a membership of any political party, what we normally do is to send those petitions to the leadership of the party for them to respond. In this case, starting from the 10th of February, after the lower level elections on the Saturday of 8th of February, a group of people came to the office with petitions. What we told them is that the rules and the regulations that governs the conduct of elections for the Sierra Leone People's Party that was passed on the 21st of February 2021 states that if you participate, whether by voting or as a candidate in any elections, and if you are aggrieved on the conduct of that elections, your first port of call should be the Regional Elections Complaints Committee. So what we told those that came to our office is that go and exhaust the remedies that your party rules and regulations states. And if you are not satisfied with those remedies, and then you can come to PPRC. So in that note, we allowed the remedies in the SLPP to take effect. And after those remedies and decisions were taken, those that were still aggrieved came to us and said, no, we are not happy with the way and manner in which the Regional Elections Complaints Committee, acted. And some other people came now. We do not trust the composition of the Regional Elections Complaints Committee. They said some of them are, quote unquote, already compromised. So they do not believe in whatever decision they will take in their matter. So what we did was that we sorted out, we categorized the petitions by district, and then we started meeting with them on the 24th of February on to the Friday, which was the 20th, and then we met with Pujeon and Bont. We met with them on the 3rd of March in Bo. And so how we go about those hearings is that we bring the petitioners into the mediation room, and then we bring to those that they are petitioning, which means the leadership at that layer, And then we're also bringing the district executive, the regional executive, and also the national office. And then the petitioners, again, will then bring in their case. And then there will be a response from the REC, there will be a response from the district, and then ultimately the national office will give responses.
Lucian, would you say these clashes are symptomatic or systemic weaknesses within the party? I mean, with regards to all the grievances and such as poor internal dispute resolution mechanism.
Well, I will not totally agree with that. What I will say is that there is lack of political education within political parties in Sierra Leone. Most of these people do not know the dictates of their rules and regulations or even their constitution. Those who know their constitution and their rules and regulations tend to walk ahead of those who do not know about those. So, and in this case, it's a competition. And what we've observed over the years within political parties is that Mr. A, because he wants a position, will try to go one step forward of Mr. B, whether cookishly or whether by the use of the law, because the others are ignorant of the law, you know. And then in this case, what was glaring is that the issues were around the registration of members, the distribution of the serialized cards. For example, if you are given as a constituency executive the serialized card to give to the sectional or zonal leadership of the political parties, it was clear that most of the leadership from the constituency level or from the district level, you know, gave cards to people they believe will vote their interest. And again, there was the issue of venues not indicated in time, and there was the issue of the voter list not be displayed in the centers 5 days before, you know, those elections. And there were also issues of people appointing other people who do not have the authority to conduct those elections to go ahead, because in the constituency level for the SLPP at those levels, the executive of those levels consists 10 people. And in most cases, what they do or what they should do or what they ought to do is that they will divide themselves to conduct these elections. But what came up is that because of the division within them and the fight for power, you know, some of the leadership of those level, you know, decide to go and conduct the elections with people that they believe they are seeking the same interest. And that was the problem. Some people who are executives at the constituency level says they were not allowed to conduct. The chairman or the secretary go about conducting all of the sections or zonal elections in those areas. So those were the common issues, you know, surrounding all of the. We had one issue that was around interpretation. You know, before now, this section, this constituency, I think it has a section and zones, and what they normally do is that they get 10-10, 3-3, and this time around they want to change to 10-10, 10-10. You know, so those were issues. They came to us for interpretation. What we did was that if this is how you've been going about, continue with it. If you want to change it, go to Supreme Court to seek interpretations. Let
me hold you there for a minute. I mean, you've mentioned some of the issues. I mean, you've highlighted some of the issues now. What's the coordination level like between the PPRC and that of the Sierra Leone Police in order to ensure that, you know, all these perpetrators are held accountable for their actions?
Well, of course, the collaboration is very high, even at the NSCCG level, which is the second highest security body in Sierra Leone. We collaborate with them. We've met with the Inspector General of Police. We've also met with all of the AIGs in all of the areas, and security personnel, you know, are deployed to ensure that violence do not occur. Some of these violence that occur, take for example in Tonkolili, it was not on the day of the elections. I think it was on the eve or a day or two before the elections. In Kenema, There was no elections in Kenema on Sunday. There was no elections. So people just took upon themselves, forgetting that the system we have in Sierra Leone is that we can pick you up at any time. As long as we have your face, NCRA can give us a name, and if we place the name with the party, and then the party has to bear the consequences.
Quickly, as we wrap up, one might be wondering, is the PPRC bigger than the ruling party? Does the PPRC have that resources and political independence, to regulate powerful parties like the SLPP effectively?
Of course, the PPRC is bigger than all the 17 registered political parties in Sierra Leone. That is why the 1991 Constitution guarantees our independence, total independence. If we are not bigger than the SLPP, we will not have issued out a warning to them in 2023. If we are not bigger than the APC, we should not have issued out warnings to them when they were in governance. So no political party, no one political party is bigger than the PPRC. And it is the responsibility of the government of the day to provide funds for the PPRC to undertake these activities. So for these activities, funds were provided by the Ministry of Finance. And when we were doing the APC lower level elections ahead of the 2023 elections, the government of Sierra Leone provided funds. And when the SLPP were in opposition, the government then provided funds to ensure that happens, because it is our constitutional and statutory mandate to ensure that we monitor the affairs and conduct of political parties.
Leema, lastly for me, in just a minute, you've heard from what Lucien has mentioned. Now, let's say you're speaking to the disgruntled people, like you said, there are grievances now. What concrete step is the SLPP taking to reassure its grassroots supporters and that their voices matter and that the party is not just controlled by select few? Because, sometimes, issues like this, people tend to feel like, there are a specific set of people, that are being favored, and, some of us are not being favored. And again, for a party to stand, it needs the involvement of the grassroots members. So what will be your message?
Well, the very reason why we have not discarded what the PPRC have sent to us, we are looking into it. Otherwise, we would have just discarded it and go ahead with what we want to do. But to show that their voice matters, and to show that also we are an institution that is being regulated by another statutory institution, we have decided to look into the report sent to us and also the work done by our staff sent on the ground, so that we come up with a decision that will satisfy the aggrieved members and as well as the general membership of the party.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. That's Lahai Lawrence Leema, the National Publicity Secretary for the Sierra Leone People's Party. And we also have Lucien Momo, Director of Outreach and Training at the PPRC. Thank you once again for being with us.